Right. Hello and welcome to the Emory session at MBA Spotlight. My name is Faiza Tash and I am your host. It is also my pleasure to present to you Kathleen Edwards, Director of the Emory School Admissions. We will begin with a quick overview of the full-time MBA program and critical information you need to know to be successful in your applications. After the brief presentation, we will open it up for questions and answers, and we'll take as many questions as possible. For everyone in the audience, we have a great way for you to engage and post your questions. On your screen, on the right, there is a tab that has a Q and A bubbles. That's the perfect place for you to post any questions you have for Kathleen, and also upvote questions you want answered. I will be picking the most upvoted questions from the Q&A tab. Okay, I will turn it over to Kathleen. Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Faiza. It's a pleasure to be here. So I thank you for that great introduction and welcome to everyone. I hope that this is a quick but very informative session. And as she said, please do share your questions. I look forward to really making sure that you get the most out of this time this morning. So as Faiza said, I'll go quickly through kind of the highlights of the Goizueta MBA program, the full-time MBA, and then make sure that we have time to answer all your questions. So I look forward to chatting with you, and I'm seeing I love the reactions and the bubbles coming up. So I appreciate the interactive nature of these sessions. So let's jump in. Thank you. Great. Okay, so my name is Kathleen Edwards. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions at Goizueta Business School. I've been part of the team for many, many years now. So what that means is that I can really speak to how the school has grown, but also how we've stayed the same and consistent, and what that means for you as a future student, because it will be a very similar and shared experience to our past students. And that means that they're very engaged alumni who are excited to welcome you to the community and engage with you and support your career journey moving forward, just as they were supported by alumni when they were going through the program. I'll also put my email address in the chat in a bit, but you can always reach out to me directly at that address. I know it looks strange. It doesn't have my name in it, but it really is my email address. So great. So as I said, we're here to talk about Goizueta Business School, and our namesake is Roberto C. Goizueta. He was the CEO and chairman of Coca-Cola for many years. He was known for not only a significant increase in shareholder value, but also in brand recognition. As you may know, the Coca-Cola company is the most recognized brand around the world, and a lot of that is due to Mr. Goizueta's efforts. He was also known for people-focused leadership, and that's a big part of his legacy that we try to continue every day by embodying his core values that I'm showing you here. And you'll see this list of really important words in all our information sessions. You'll also see it in the application and on campus when you get here, because they really are part of our day-to-day and long-term thinking. And we show them to you early so you can think about your own core values and how they overlap with ours, because truly, you are not just thinking about a school or a diploma, you're really thinking about a community and a family that you'll be joining. And we want you to find the place that fits with your own values and your ideals, that you'll be proud to be affiliated with, and that you'll be proud to represent as a graduate and as an alum. So courage, integrity, accountability are very broad terms, but certainly macro level, how we think about investing in the school long-term and future students. Rigor is right there in the middle. It's very important. It is an academic experience. You're going to be working really hard. We have very high expectations of our students, as our students do of us in terms of the faculty and staff. So it goes both ways. It really is applied across the board. And then diversity, team, and community. Those are values that you'll see on a day-to-day basis, on a micro level, how you interact with your peers, your faculty and staff, and how we make decisions as an admissions team. So just keep those in mind. I hope one or two or all of them really resonate with you, and that you'll be able to see yourself embodying those core values as a Goizueta student and graduate. So kind of backing up to what makes Goizueta's MBA unique among the top 20 business schools. So you're hearing from schools today, you have access to the top business schools in the world, especially in the United States. And this is such a special event for you. I'm so glad you're taking advantage of it. So we are one of the top 20 schools in the US. We're currently ranked number 16, so 16 on some rankings, 17 on some rankings. It all changes year to year, but very consistently in the top 20. And what that means is you are going to get a world-class business education. We're all going to deliver those hard skills, that business acumen, really what you need to be successful and advance your career and be effective in your organization now and in the future. But how we do it is a little bit different than other schools in the top 20. So you'll see the other components of that are the location in Atlanta, Georgia, which we'll talk about a little bit more if you're not already familiar. It's a major U.S. business city. We are the go-to school in what is the best city for doing business in the U.S. on different rankings, things like that. So you have a location where you have the world's busiest airport. You can get anywhere in the world. Anyone can get to us. And you also have experts in their fields, as well as a fantastic alumni base, because it's such a great city to live and work in. But then you're getting the small school environment, which we are the only school in the top 20 that combines these three components. So you have a big business city and a small school environment where you'll know your whole class, you'll know your faculty, and that really does make a difference in terms of how your education is tailored to you, and then also how you're able to really make an impact in your school community. So all those things combine to make it a really special place at Goizueta Business School. So also within that is that we are delivering the full-time MBA in two different formats. It's the same degree, both STEM designated, so no difference really in the curriculum. The main difference is that we have accelerated the 2-year full-time MBA program by 1 semester to also give you the 1-year full-time MBA option. So you can either start in the summer, do your core classes in the summer, and then go straight into electives in the 1-year program, and then graduate in just 3 semesters and go straight into your full-time job search. Or you can follow the more traditional path, the 2-year MBA, which starts in the fall with core and then electives and then a summer internship and then your 2 semesters of electives. So the primary difference between the two programs is the internship. So if your post-MBA goal depends on the internship, we're going to steer you towards the 2-year MBA. But otherwise, they're both very similar programs. You're mostly integrated together with your classmates across programs, and really a fantastic option if your post-MBA goal is similar to what you're already doing or in the same industry or the same function, those sorts of things. And we can certainly talk about the 1-year versus the 2-year as we move through. Both programs, as I said, are STEM designated, include a rigorous curriculum of core courses. One of them I'll point out, which is Impact, which all students will participate in. It's essentially a problem-solving course. So we're really giving you the framework to do analysis, break down a business case, and then build up a recommendation. And then you're actually doing that in your second semester with a client. So you will have a real project-based course with a client in your area of interest, very much resume worthy. You'll be presenting back to the company client, as well as about 300 alumni judges who will be asking you questions and really putting you through the ringer. But it's a lot of hard work, but fantastic preparation to either go into consulting or to use that analytical skill in any sort of area where you're dealing with ambiguity, those sorts of components of your professional work. In addition to the classroom, as you saw in that last slide, we have several different concentrations, which are informal. You can have more than one concentration. You can also do a deeper dive into a specific area of interest, particularly in terms of your career interest under fellowships. So this is a little bit different than scholarships. Fellowships in this case is a selected position where you are working within a center directly with the faculty and staff directors of that program, advancing research, advancing programming, and also really getting an individual career lab where you have people, faculty and staff and alumni invested in you and your career development, and you're also contributing to the programming of that center. So these are things to consider if any of these areas fit with your career interests. That's a fantastic additional layer to your career development. Leadership development is built into the program in several different ways. I'll point out the Delta Airlines Leadership Coaching Fellows, because this is especially helpful for those of you advancing your managerial skills or preparing to go into managerial positions, because you're really getting hands-on practice in the coaching style of management. So it's a unique program, so much so that Delta Airlines really studied it and has invested in it and endowed the program. So we have the ability to think long-term over many years about how we can develop students' skills through hands-on practice, coaching, and incentivizing performance, working with teams in the year behind them, but also working with executive coaches and faculty as well. International study is built into the program, international exposure within the classroom. About 40% of the incoming class will come from outside the US, from about 20 different countries. So we have a lot of diversity of thought and experience in the classroom. And then we also encourage our students to travel abroad, get exposure outside the US or in a new country if they're already from outside the US. So you have multiple opportunities to do that through Goizueta faculty, but also through our partner universities around the world. And then, as I mentioned before, Atlanta, it's just a fantastic place to live. It's my hometown, so I'm very biased, but Southern hospitality is a real thing. You will be welcomed. You will meet people from similar backgrounds. You will meet people you never would have met before. It's very much a diverse city, and that shows through in the entertainment, in the food, in the neighborhoods, in the music. If any kind of music you could possibly want to enjoy live, you will have access to. There's also a great film and entertainment industry in the city, but also fintech. Entrepreneurship is very strong, especially small and medium businesses and minority-owned businesses. You've got a lot of diversity in terms of activities, but also in terms of industries represented, and that means an alumni network and friends of the school who come to us not only to hire our students, but also to share their knowledge and expertise at the classroom. So just a great place to be a student, but also to be a resident and explore beyond campus, which is in a residential part of the city. So I'm going to kind of move. I want to get to the end, but I'm just going to give you a sampling of part of that. Being a small school means that you will be expected to really take a leadership role and put those leadership skills into practice through our clubs and organizations. Certainly the professional side, so the consulting association, marketing, finance club, all those groups are students working together to advance their careers. But then also affinity groups, just fun stuff. And then student government is really important as well. There's an academic committee, a career committee, and of course the social committee, which is very busy. But so really thinking about how we can continually improve the student experience. And so there's direct line of communication between the students and the administration. Of course, careers. So this is what I know you want to hear about. These numbers are based on our most recent, the graduating class before this year. We will publish our most recent data later this month. You will see a change, as everyone, I think every school in here today will tell you there's been a change in terms of the hiring figures, just because of market changes and things like that. But that's not a reason to worry. That actually means it could be a fantastic time for you to go to school, because this time by the time you're actually in the full-time search, there's a lot of areas that will potentially have rebounded. Things shift every year, and we are very much built to support our students through change. I have been here through multiple recessions now and a global pandemic, and that's one of the things I can say is very consistent, is the engagement of alumni, the support that you have, not only from your career coaches, the Career Management Center team, but also from people outside of the school, always wanting to help and making making sure that you have support and opportunities and access. So that's really what we do very well. You'll also have individual career coaching, and consistent access to the coaching team in the Career Management Center. This is just a sampling of the many companies that hire our students every year, that come to campus to recruit, and that also we have alumni who are those first recruiters. So you'll see them on campus and in those club meetings, helping you prepare for interviews. A lot of support and encouragement from the alumni and the formal Career Management Center team. And so, speaking of alumni, this is just a sampling of some of the fantastic alums that then you can see the diversity of functions and the diversity of companies represented here. And this is just a few people out of many thousands that are excited to support you. So with that, I will very quickly jump into the admissions component. I know that, and then really open it up for questions. I'm going to post a link here to our Getting It Done 101 program, because that's where we're really going to go in depth in the application process. So if you're enjoying my voice, you could have 4 more weeks of it. We will break down the application process, really go through the details. We have a cohort for international students and a cohort for domestic students, so that we can go into more details about different concerns, especially with paperwork and visas. But that's what we really want to provide that service for you. And of course, I will answer questions as we talk about the application process. Overall, our incoming class average GMAT for the past couple of years has been around a 710 on the old scale, which is, we think about a 665, 655 now. So of course we accept both. We accept the GRE as well. There is a test waiver application process. So I'll put a link to that too. You would apply to be considered for a test waiver. And the students who are successful in that really have demonstration of quantitative coursework on their transcript. So that's going to be what's most likely to help you be successful in the test waiver component. All admitted students are considered for merit scholarships. So that's what I always encourage students to do, is go through the application process, get your admissions decision and scholarship decision. And then that's really how you can compare actual schools and actual out-of-pocket costs and those sorts of things. We know that loans are not what anyone wants to do, but sometimes combining resources is really what's going to be helpful. And post-MBA salary consistently is supportive of that ROI figure. So but go in, put forth your strongest application that you can to be considered for merit scholarships, and then also keep an eye out for all other opportunities for funding. And then this is where we are in the cycle. So we are between round 1 and 2. Round 2 is our largest round every year. So that's what I would encourage you to focus on January 6th. That is coming up pretty soon, but you still have time to polish your application, take the test again. If you have only taken it once, we really encourage you to take it more than once. We would never average your scores. It really does help to show your work and effort. If you are taking the test more than once, please do send us all your scores. We want to see the work that you've put into that. And then with that, I will just wrap up by introducing our program dean, Brian Mitchell. As I said, the small, intimate learning environment really does make a real difference. And that means that you will know your entire program team. They are your coaches, your cheerleaders, your accountability buddies. They've also seen it all before, so they can help you through the tough times. There will be days when you think, why did I do this to myself? This is so hard. You will have setbacks, but you will also have major successes, and you will have lots of classmates to cheer you on and vice versa to cheer them on. So the days are long, but the years are fast. So that's what I hope you are more excited now about going to a business school than you were when we started. And now I'm happy to take questions and answer any concerns that you have.
Thank you so much for the information. I'm sure everyone really enjoyed it. So I'm going to, people ask a lot of questions. I'm going to ask you one by one. Okay. As I told you, everyone is asking about the application fee waiver. Can you explain a little for people how it works?
So all GMAT Club participants, if you are here attending the session, you will receive an application fee waiver. There's nothing you need to do. There's not a code. What will happen is the GMAT Club will send us the list of all of you, and we will send you an email later with more information. Also, on top of that, if you would like to participate in Getting It Done 101, all of those participants will receive application fee waivers. That doesn't mean you get 2 fee waivers. It just means that it will automatically be applied to your record. So we understand that every little bit of spending is important, and so we'd rather you put those funds towards taking the test again, or visiting campus after you've been admitted, all those sorts of things.
Okay, thank you so much. It's very generous of you. Someone asked, does the applying for the application fee waiver affect negatively on our application?
So no, so we certainly admit students who've received the test waiver. We've certainly awarded scholarships to people who've awarded the test waiver. It is important to think about your overall application strength, and if quantitative is a very strong area for you, then you might do very well on one of the tests. So it might be to your benefit to take a test and score well. But really, it's up to you and your decision. We understand that taking the test multiple times can be challenging, but it is helpful information. So, but essentially, we would not offer the test waiver if it were going to hurt a candidate. We do take that seriously. We want to provide you opportunities to represent yourself well. And so that's part of what the test application or test waiver application does. We're going to look at your work experience, your quantitative coursework, as well as any quantitative work that you're doing, those sorts of things. So no.
Awesome. Another person asked, how do the scholarships vary from round 1 and round 2?
Sure. So round 1 and round 2 are very similar, except in terms of the number of candidates. So we recommend that all of our students, especially our international students, apply by round 2 at the latest. And that means that you will receive full consideration for admission and for scholarship. So there's no significant difference between round 1 and round 2. Round 3 is where things get less predictable. So I think that's the best way to explain it. It's not that you are not going to get admitted or get a scholarship, that you absolutely could in round 3. It's just less consistent from year to year. So that's why we encourage students to focus on round 1 or round 2, especially if you're already in progress and you have time to get it in and get it improved, ready to send for January. We would love to see it by then.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Let me see.
I can see some of the questions, or
someone asked if employment reports for your year 2024 can be shared as well.
So it will be posted soon. It's not available just yet. We're checking all the numbers and everything. But so once it is available, it would be posted on the website, and we will share that publicly. So that will be available. I don't have it yet. So.
Okay. People are asking about the TOEFL and IELTS exam for the international students.
Yeah.
Is there a minimum required score?
Yes, so that's one thing that we will go through in detail in the Getting It Done 101 series. But I can tell you, if you're coming from a country where school and work are conducted in English, you do not need to take a TOEFL or IELTS. If your transcript is not in English, we will need a translation. So WES is the most common. But if the transcript is in English and the mark sheet, and we can see what courses you've taken, if that's all in English, you do not need to translate it. If you can work and study in a language other than English, we do require the TOEFL or IELTS. The TOEFL, I believe the minimum we recommend is 100, and IELTS is 7. So I don't have my numbers in front of me, but I believe that's correct.
Awesome. And this is my own question. Can they apply for the round 2, which is January 6th, as you mentioned? and then provide their TOEFL score like maybe 10, 20 days later?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you can get, if you're taking the test shortly after the deadline, that's okay, and we can get that score. Or if you're adding new information after the deadline, that's usually okay, as long as you've completed the entire application otherwise. So get everything in before the deadline, and in the application, you can tell us your future test date. You can tell us when you're taking the GMAT, the GRE, the TOEFL. Or IELTS in the optional essay, or you can email us directly. So that way we know that it's on the way. But as long as you get everything else in by the deadline, so you're an applicant, and then we're just adding those final scores to the application. That's great.
Awesome. Nitish from India asked, how strict are the GRE score requirements in an application?
Well, so the requirement is strict in that we can't complete your application without either the GMAT, the GRE, or a test waiver. In terms of the actual score, what we're doing is reviewing all your test scores and comparing your academic readiness with our past students who've been successful in the program. So whatever test you've taken, we're looking at that score plus your transcript and all your other academic information to assess your academic readiness. For the GRE, we don't publish an average. I would recommend there's not an official minimum or cutoff, but I would recommend kind of targeting 120 on each section or above. That's a good benchmark to kind of give yourself. But again, we don't have an official minimum, or there's no automatic cutoff score or automatic admit score on either test. We review each application individually.
Awesome. Another question is if employment reports. I think I asked this, right?
Yes, it's on the way.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the numbers aren't going to be as strong as they have been in the past. I think it's the same case for every other school on this call. There have been some challenges, but overall, our students are doing very well and getting jobs at tech firms, getting jobs in areas where there have been layoffs. So it's not all bad news. It's just some specific areas that were more challenging than others. But ultimately, most students, even if they didn't have that finalized offer at the 3-month mark, which is earlier for us than other schools, have since then have gained employment and are doing very well.
Awesome. I want to mention that most of the audience asked the questions in the chat area rather than question and ask. So it's okay. I'm going to answer no matter what. It says, how I showcase my entrepreneurship experience and LOR, which I don't know stands for what.
Letter of recommendation.
Yes.
Oh, well, those are different things, I think. So in your okay, well, so letters of recommendation. We require 2 letters of recommendation. They should both be professional. Typically, we want to see recommendations from your current or recent supervisor. We absolutely understand that you may not be able to ask your current supervisor because you're essentially telling them you're trying to leave, which we understand. So that's okay if you don't have a current supervisor. If you have any kind of questions about who to ask, or if you want to explain to us who you've asked to be your recommender, use the optional essay to do that. If you have entrepreneurial experience and so you don't have a traditional boss, that's a situation where you may want to ask an advisor, a board of advisors member, maybe an investor, a client, a vendor, supplier, something like that. So you can think out of the box if you want to showcase your entrepreneurial experience, which means you don't have kind of a manager to write a recommendation for you. Think about someone who is able to speak to how you handle challenges, how you do the work that you do, who is evaluating you in some other situation other than a formal hierarchy. But the 2 recommendations should definitely be professional and should be relatively recent. So within the last 3 to 5 years max, even if it's not a traditional thing. If it's someone who's left your company, or maybe you've left a company and they're at a past one, that's all great too.
Awesome. Uh, sh- should they provide a letter of recommendation from an employee who fired them? No, an employer who
Oh,
fired them? No.
I mean, that would be a new one. I mean, that is a really good question to ask. It's like when you ask someone if they can write your recommendation, make sure you include the words "a positive recommendation." Do you have time to do this, and are you comfortable writing me a positive recommendation? Because there have been some not so great ones, but
Really?
yeah, make sure you ask.
Oh, this is my question.
Yeah,
I have two options. One is waive the access to the recommendation. One is not waive. What should we
yeah.
do? Should we waive?
I recommend waiving it. So it's not an official difference, but really it just means that you should not be seeing the recommendation before we see it, and you should not have any opportunity to edit it or write it. You are not writing this for them. We've really streamlined the form so it's not time consuming. They don't have to write a letter from scratch. So you do not need to. You give them information about why you want to go to business school, what you think your strengths are, but you are not writing this for them. So by marking waive, that kind of emphasizes that you understand that, and that kind of removes any kind of doubt. But again, we wouldn't make it optional if it was going to hurt you. So it doesn't really impact it. But I think go ahead and waive that, because we can't show you the recommendation anyway until so it's not, just prepare the person well and choose the best people, and then it's out of your hands, and that's okay. They should be writing great comments for you.
Oh, awesome. And you mentioned until when we can see the letter of
Oh,
recommendation.
I'm honestly not sure. I think it's after you've enrolled or something like that. So it would be because everything you submit in your application is you're giving it to us, and it's ours, and then it's ours until you are an enrolled student, and then that's when you would have maybe access to some of that information. So, but I don't mean to make it mysterious or difficult. It's you should know, you should have a good idea of what they're saying, or you shouldn't be asking them. If that makes sense.
This is not the next question is not my question, because
Oh,
as I mentioned, everyone asking the chat, and I
yeah.
copy paste here. Uh, can you explain how age and year of
Yeah.
education
Sure.
impact the chance of acceptance?
Sure. So what we're looking for are people
Year
who
of
bring.
experience.
Oh, sorry.
It was year of experience,
Yeah.
YOE.
Yeah. So what we're looking for are students who have work experience, that so they've learned a lot. They can bring that experience into the classroom, and also that matches what MBA hiring managers are looking for. So they're also looking for kind of a range of work experience. So what we recommend is that we are looking for candidates who have at least 3 years of full-time work experience when they would be starting the program. So if you're about 2.5 years now and you'd be working into the summer, then that could be a good fit. The average tends to be around 5 or 6 years of work experience. And then there's not an official kind of cutoff at the top end, but when you have more than 7, 8 years of work experience, you might run into challenges with what the hiring managers are looking for in terms of experience level, or you may be coming in at a level that's maybe not, that's a little bit higher. You may be looking for a level of position that's a little bit higher than a typical MBA position. But so the ideal range is kind of the 3 to 7 years of work experience. That's kind of the sweet spot. But that doesn't mean if you're above that you shouldn't apply. It just means to be aware of that when you're thinking about post MBA positions. So that's really what we're looking for. It's a combination of having experience under your belt, having exposure to the organization, also having learned about what you want to do next, and being able to kind of articulate what you've enjoyed about your past work, what you've learned, what you've gained, and then what you need to move forward. And then you're connecting that past experience with your goals, your post MBA goals, and that's how we can partner with you for success.
So this is my own question. I have
Yeah.
around 14 years work experience. Does this affect negatively on my application?
It's a case by case basis. So I think that if it were, the problems come in is when someone is experienced, has several years of work experience, and is at a director level or something higher than a typical MBA entry level position job, and they don't understand that they could be moving kind of backwards in terms of level to move into the industry or function. So that's what I mean when it's a case by case basis. So it's not just based on the numbers, it's based on what kind of experience, how it connects to your future goals, and your understanding of what MBA entry level positions are, and being excited and comfortable with that kind of transition.
Awesome. So you mean that most of the jobs they want people who are still young, and if we pursue our education on the MBA level, it's when we want to start our own business, and it's kind of entrepreneurship mindset.
Kind of. That could be part of it. It's really our MBA programs are designed for career phases. So the full-time MBA program is designed for early and mid-career. Our evening MBA program is designed for mid-career, and then our executive MBA program is designed for mid to kind of seasoned professionals. So the kind of cutoff point is or dividing line between early career and mid or seasoned experienced professional is kind of the 8 to 10 to 12 year mark. So that's kind of the bubble where you're in between the two. But there's lots of different factors. If you've changed functions or industries, if you're trying to go into entrepreneurship. So it's not a formula, it's just kind of a guideline.
So we should mention that in our statement of purpose if we want to.
Yes. Yeah. Acknowledge kind of the years of experience and then why this program is still the right fit. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And the next question is there a minimum GPA requirements for the full-time MBA? And
yeah,
what are the effects on GPA in a scholarship?
Yeah. So there's not an official cutoff minimum GPA. And we also don't require you to convert your score to a 4.0. We're very familiar with different grading systems around the world, and even within the US, there's multiple systems. So as I said, if your transcript and your courses are not listed in English, we do need a transcript translation, but otherwise, and WES will convert it to a 4.0, but otherwise it's not required. The average GPA tends to be around a 3.5. What we're doing more is we're looking closely at your transcript to see which courses you've taken, how you did in the business or quantitative or analytical courses. Also, we're looking at trends. I can say my transcript the first semester was not pretty, but I did improve after that. And that's a very common story, especially, moving into college, there's an adjustment period. Other people did great from the start, or maybe had one semester where they had some external challenges, things like that. We will see. You can address any concerns that you have in your optional essay as well. But certainly a strong GPA, especially combined with a strong test score, is going to make you more competitive for the larger merit scholarships. So there's admissions and then scholarship review, and a strong academic record is part of a strong profile where we're confident that you're ready for the classroom and to be successful in the classroom. But we are reviewing each application individually. So we know you can't go back and change your transcript legally. Don't do that.
Is there a way to do that?
I don't think so. not a good one. So don't do that. If you are concerned about that, that's another reason to put some more time and effort into your test prep, to kind of combine the two. But we always are looking at all the academic information together as an assessment of, or as a predictor of your academic success in our program.
Awesome. Thank you. Another audience from India asked if I've already submitted my application with my GRE score and ended up retaking the GRE. Can I submit the new score?
Yes, absolutely. We love to see new updates to applications. Ideally, it would be at least a few weeks before the round deadline, or not the deadline, excuse me, the decision release, or even a month. So if you applied in round one, you are taking the test within the next week or so, yes, absolutely send it in. I believe the decision release for round one is December 4th. So there's still a couple of weeks. But basically, we need time to be able to add that in and do a re-review of your file. For round two, the deadline is in January. The decision release is in March. So as long as you get us anything new by February, then that's great. We can certainly add that in. Also, tell us if you're planning to take the test again. Tell us that. You can email. I'll put in after you've applied. You can send any application updates to this email address. But this is only for application updates. But that's where you can tell us the date, tell us that you're sending the new score in, so that way we're aware of it and can kind of flag it.
Awesome. And someone asked, how can I get a TOEFL voucher? I don't know whether
So if you mean TOEFL waiver, that means that's something. So if anyone, so if you're coming from, do you know what country they were asking from? Was it India?
I think so.
Okay. If you are applicants from India, if your school and work was in English, which commonly is, you do not need a waiver. You do not need to take the test. You don't have to apply for a waiver. If you are coming from a country, if your school, if you're coming from a country which is typically conducted in a different language, but your degree was in English or something like that, if you meet the criteria, you can email us and request a waiver. We don't offer vouchers. A voucher is for the fee to take the test, and I'm afraid we don't have those for the TOEFL.
Awesome. The next question is, can I get admission for MBA with biology background?
Absolutely. We really want a variety of different perspectives in the classroom. And I avoid using the term non-traditional because I think that's become kind of overused. If your background is non-business, that's great. Business school is not just for business people, or otherwise it would just be real boring. It would just be people sitting around talking about finance that already know everything about finance, which we want people who have experience in finance, but we also want people who have liberal arts and philosophy and nonprofit and medical and law background. So absolutely don't kind of worry or try to talk down your own experience or try to make it into business if it's not. Tell us what you've learned and what you know and what you're bringing to the classroom, and that's our job, to put together a great class of different people from different backgrounds.
Awesome. And I think this is the last question. What can I add to my essay to increase its chances of acceptance?
That's a great question. So we will go through the essays in detail in Getting It Done 101. My number one piece of advice is to answer the question. Read the question, the prompt very carefully, and answer it specifically. Do not write a personal statement and then try to apply it. Just try to paste it into all your schools. Read each school essay question individually carefully. We've also shortened our word limits to try to remove some of the pressure to write a big, long personal statement. You don't need to. We're really looking for the answers to the question and not a huge description of your life. because the whole application is telling us about your experience in your life. The essays are one part of it where we're very specifically asking you what you want to do after business school, about your leadership experience. So there are not any tricks or things like that for the essay. The best thing you can do is answer the question directly and genuinely, and use your own words. Don't give them away. Don't give your space away to chat GPT or to a quote or to a definition of a word or anything like that. Tell us your answer to that specific question. Simple as that.
Awesome. So I want to add that if they use ChatGPT, the schools will realize and will be penalized, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just boring. And we've tried to avoid you feeling like you need it. But also, it can be a good tool to start off with, but it's not going to give you a good answer. We've put all our questions into all the AI systems and seen the answers that come out. So I can promise it's pretty boring.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Catherine. It was really helpful. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us. If we did not cover your question, feel free to stop by the Emory booth. You will find a variety of links and resources. And also, you can chat with the admissions team from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Wednesday in the booth area. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.